smile. But wake up, baby, you're so totally deluded. You'll end up old and lonely if you don't get a bullet in your head.
Hello, I'm Plutoburns, and welcome to Eagleland. Suspension of disbelief is a tricky thing to manage. All fiction inherently breaks the actual construct of reality, so it more comes down to managing audience expectations. In a comedy, you can completely disregard the rules of reality as long as you're making the audience laugh. Science fiction, you're gonna be in for a bit more scrutiny.
That's not to say you have to explain every damn detail of how the teleporter works or how humans were able to build giant robots, but they should be used in logical ways. So when you demonstrate that you can teleport across deep space, people are gonna question why you never do it again.
And when your solution to giant humanoid cockroaches is to inject your astronauts with bug DNA, my suspension starts to break.
The plot of Terra Formars is that humans attempted to colonize Mars by heating the surface and melting the CO2 on the poles, creating an ozone layer, and blah 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 blah. It was actually plausible sounding, but the issue was they needed something black to absorb the sunlight and heat the planet. Their solution was to send up cockroaches with a special breed of algae designed to live in harsh climates for the cockroaches to eat. When the first astronauts landed on Mars to check the progress, they were killed by giant humanoid cockroaches.
Now, so far, my suspension of disbelief is holding. Cockroaches were an odd choice, but the fact that they sent some algae up there shows that they clearly put some thought into this plan. And it's not like this was supposed to have instant results. They gave over 100 years for this to show results. The human cockroaches is blatantly not how evolution works, but sometimes you just gotta let that stuff go.
We may not know how black holes work, but we're pretty damn sure they don't summon demons. And you could probably just line the coast with the weapons you put on the Jaegers instead of making them, but the haunted spaceship and robots punching monsters was the point of those movies, just how fighting humanoid cockroaches is the point of this manga. My problem is how they choose to handle these monsters. Rather than try killing the bugs with fire or poison from the sky, the solution the world government came up with was to grab random vagrants off the street, tell them they're going to Mars, inject them with an experimental procedure that kills about 80% of the people it's performed on, and then watch the half-bug humans battle the giant roaches.
I'm not so much questioning the creation of human-bug hybrids. I mean, if I had that technology, I'd experiment with it too. I'm more questioning why you'd go with that as your first choice for dealing with this problem, especially when the survival rate of the procedure is still so low. I mean, who pitched this?
Alright, gentlemen. Now, I know you had your heart set on the unmanned kill droids, but just hold on to your hats for this one. Human-bug hybrids. All I do is I strap a person down, insert a dangerous foreign organism into their bodies, and then all they have to do is inject drugs into themselves and they turn into a half-bug monster. Now, the procedure is quite dangerous, but I feel that is an acceptable risk if I can get footage of a grasshopper man kicking the head off of a mutant cockroach.
So the vagrants land on Mars, and for some Hagen-forsaken reason, no one told them they were coming here to kill giant cockroaches. I feel like that should have come up at some point in the procedure.
Why are we doing this again?
I don't know, I'm just here for the science!
I still get my cookie after this, right?
If you live.
So the Japanese guy and his waifu just walk right up to the first cockroach they see and, oh dear God, that looks stupid.
Is that supposed to be scary? Cause with the giant upper lip, it's like they've got this permanent dirt face. I'm not sold on the design. I think it'd be much scarier if they were, actual giant cockroaches.
But anyway, Eric and Waifu walk up to Bushwick and he snaps Waifu's neck in one quick motion. From that point on, shit goes down, and for the most part, every single one of them dies way too fast. Maybe I've been spoiled, but I really do prefer fight scenes where some degree of skill and tactics is displayed, not just power up! In the middle of most of them trying their damnedest not to die, there's a painfully unnecessary subplot about this wasp girl and this water bear being part of a conspiracy to bring back one of the cockroaches alive so they can be weaponized.
Which always rings false when you encounter it in sci-fi. Cause when was the last time you recall wild animals being used on the battlefield? Alright, gentlemen, I've got a new non-lethal bullet with a proprietary sedative that will knock out anyone for 10 minutes with no side effects.
No side effects? Get out!
Well, what I propose is a new high-efficiency laser, which we can attach to our spacecraft that will not put any undue load on the fuel cells.
Lasers are nice, but I don't think this one is quite Weyland-Yutani.
Well, I propose that we waste countless resources capturing an extremely dangerous animal and then endangering our own employees while we attempt to train it so we can stick it on our enemies like attack dogs. Oh, sorry, wrong picture.
Sold!
I'm not above admitting that some of the fights are cool, but the pace is way too quick for me to get invested. Eric the Half-a-Bee is one of the only crew members who manages to put up a fight. They attempt to fly off the planet, but somehow the cockroaches grab on and they use the escape pod, which only ends up saving Eric the Half-a-Bee and Mr. Waterbear, because water bears are damn hard to kill. I was not expecting him to survive. His character design just screams expendable.
And then we jump ahead 5 years to do the exact same thing!
Yeah, no kidding. The very next thing that happens is a time jump to the next batch of spliced up astronauts rocketing off to Mars to fight more giant cockroaches. Literally nothing substantial about the plan has changed. Only difference is now the guinea pigs have been mixed with more types of animals than just bugs, and they've sent a lot more of them up this time. Oh, and they've sent some actual military leaders and organized them into units.
Which seems like the kind of thing they should have done for the first expedition, but let's not forget the kind of clowns that are running this op.
Oh, and Eric the Half-Bee came back to Mars while Waterboy is part of some shadowy cabal that runs the operation. I'm not trying to imply I don't like these fights. I really like the guy who pitches rocks from half a mile away and the boxer who's mixed with a shrimp. But the battles can't build any kind of flow because the manga constantly stops in the middle of them to go on digressions about what animal the person is mixed with or cutting back to the shadowy cabal on Earth. And that's just stupid pacing. I don't care how the backstabbing Earth governments are trying to divvy up Mars if we are still in the process of claiming it. There are ways of using flashbacks or other character stories to break up fights, but it's absolutely not what Terra Formars does. If you want to cut to a flashback about character motivations, do it during a logical stopping point of the fight so you can break it up into phases. Don't just stick them in between punches.
Terra Formars does this a lot, where a fight will be interrupted right before the decisive blow so we can have a flashback as to why this character is important. Because we couldn't have done that earlier, obviously. It's choppier than a stuttering lumberjack, and it's pretty blatantly trying to yank on your heartstrings, with either the character remembering why they can't die and then triumphing. Oh no! Jay's gonna kill me! But wait a minute, I have a sister! Or dying. Oh no! Jay's gonna kill me! But wait! I have a sister!
The manga I am most reminded of when reading Terra Formars is Gantz. But whereas Gantz was on the surface a hyper-deathcore nihilistic sci-fi romp, underneath it all it had a real affection for humanity and it came through in the characters. I don't get that from Terra Formars. Underneath all the bizarre sci-fi, Black Hood conspiracies, and ultra-violence, all I see is a 5-year-old bashing his toys together. Oh, and at one point the cockroaches start combining themselves with other bugs because the equivalent of cavemen can totally learn how to perform genetic manipulation simply by studying corpses and our...
I promise to stop nitpicking!
Let's sum this up. If you're in the mood for some of the old ultra-violence, you can certainly do worse than Terra Formars. Wolf guy. It never offends you, and its sprays of blood are about as meaningful as stepping on actual bugs. But that's only because it completely fails at getting you invested in its characters, so watching them die doesn't matter. It has some serious pacing issues, and I'm not a huge fan of the artwork. Oh, and if wildly inaccurate sci-fi tech bugs you, stay away.
But if you're the kind of person who can enjoy Prince of Tennis, then you can enjoy Terra Formars. At least it doesn't have a Ryoma. The author for this is Sasuga Yu, and the artist is Tachibana Kenichi, neither of whom have really done much outside of Terra Formars and its spin-offs. And the fact that I'm holding this in my hands means that I'm just gonna have to get used to this being popular. Hey, don't look at me like that. I like fun. I just prefer my fun to have a little bit more meat to chew on. Like my Avatar DVD box sets! I'm Plutoburns and I'm rewatching this. Woo!
Is this a wretched demi-bee, half asleep upon my knee? Some freak from a menagerie? No, it's Eric the half-a-bee. A fiddly-dum, a fiddly-dee, Eric the half-a-bee. Ho, 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 TV.
Minute, I have a sister! That was really good.
Ow.